What's up, YouTube? Ryan Von Adler back here with another episode of Tone Clones for you guys. Today we're covering Rammstein. Heavy metal, German, just epicness. I mean, really, what else can I say? Had the pleasure of seeing them this summer on the stadium tour. I'll insert some footage so you guys can see how epic of a show it was. We got some really fun stuff to cover today. So, I want to go over the gear first. Today, for Richard, I'm using my BC Rich Mockingbird. This is, I want to say it's an early 2000s, late 90s New Jersey series. Freaking awesome guitar, neck through, all the good wood. It has had a neck break in the back, at least one, maybe a couple. But as far as pickups, this has it's a Dean pickup from an old Dave Mustaine signature. So this thing, really high output, really great for metal, just freaking awesome guitar in general. And was honestly, like, I know it's kind of, the idea is to try and sound as much like these artists. But I also feel like it's easier if I'm playing, guitars that are kind of in the same vein as these people to try and at least kind of like feel the same emotion, you kind of play the same way. So Mockingbird was the closest thing I had to Kruspe's RZK2, which is a freaking awesome guitar. I would love to have one. The burnt finish is just, it's gorgeous and really unmistakably iconic. So for Paul Landers, on the other hand, using a guitar that you guys have probably seen on the channel before. This is my 1987 Epiphone Les Paul Custom. Sorry, 1989 Epiphone Les Paul Custom. 87, great year. Appetite for Destruction, Girls, Girls, Girls. But 89 was a great year for guitars. So yeah, if you guys don't know anything about these, it's the first year they actually did an Epiphone Les Paul Custom and the last year of this headstock before they brought it back in like 2019. So I've always had a sweet spot for these. I have two of them, a black and a white one. This one, it's named Amenadiel. Was watching a lot of Lucifer. If you guys haven't seen it, great show, check it out. But was watching a lot of that when I got this guitar. Just so you know, the other guitar, the BC Rich, is named Nikki. Ended up actually getting it from my bandmate and the bassist, guitarist for Astro Ever After, Nikki, spelled differently. Inspired by him, but also partly inspired because Nikki Sixx used to play BC Riches back in the day, so fun little tidbit of information for you. This one also has the Whole Lotta Humbucker set, the Jimmy Page. Now, you guys will be the first to probably point out that Rammstein, they play nothing but active pickups. Personally, not a fan of actives. Fishmans are the only ones that I've actually played that I really like. I think EMGs sound like absolute trash. I mean, it sounds great for Rammstein, but I don't have any. So part of today was not only try and sound like Rammstein using Kempers, because they use a ton of outboard gear. It's all analog, Bogners and Mesas and everything like that, and all the rack gear that goes with it, the Neve preamps and whatnot. But I also want to try and sound like Rammstein using passive pickups. So this has definitely been a bit of a challenge, definitely a fun one to try. I'll let you guys be the judge of how everything sounds, but let's go ahead and hop into the computer and I'll show you guys all the settings I'm using on the Kemper. The Kemper rig manager here, and let's go ahead and start with Paul since I got his loaded up right now. So it's kind of tricky trying to find out everything Rammstein uses as far as like amps and stuff like that. One, because there's just a lot of gear going into it. If you watch any of the interviews, there's a bunch of preamps, a bunch of rack gear, everything like that. So I definitely recommend watching the Rammfire plugin that Richard did with Native Instruments a couple years back. A lot of information there. But with Paul Landers, the best I could find was, as far as studio gear, he's using like Bogner Uberschalls, Mesa Boogie, dual or triple Rex, I can't remember which, and an Engel Powerball. So I ended up choosing an Engel Powerball to start with this one. If you guys want to try this rig, I got it from, let's see, who is the author? Oh, well, it says me. I just searched Powerball. It was the first one that pulled up in the rig manager. It's called the KLOK tone. And with this, I had to do quite a bit of editing. So first off, noise gate, really high threshold. One, because the pickups I'm using are pretty noisy, but also just with all the gain introduced, I wanted it to be a really clean, tight tone. So yeah, threshold really high on that one. As far as the EQ, this was where things got tricky because Rammstein, there are no mids to speak of. It's kind of fizzy almost. And if you just listen to like the guitar tracks only, it's just a really powerful sound, kind of punched you in the face with like razor blades. So it took a lot of tweaking and it's still not even perfect. So I'm sure if you guys play around with this, you'll probably come up with something a little bit closer. I just didn't have all the time to like fine tune it. But with this one, first thing, I'm just cutting all the 80 hertz to get rid of like that boominess. And then I'm cutting a lot of frequencies here at 640, absolutely taking out a little bit of a boost at 12K and then, 1.25K. And everything else pretty stock. Moving over, I threw in a Klon. Not something that he uses, but if you guys have a Kemper, and especially if you're trying to get just, something that sounds lifelike, honestly, one of my best recommendations is to use the Klon pedal they have in here. Just under distortion, Klon 1 is the one I always use and just kind of play around with the all the settings. But in my experience, the Klon makes every amp just sound a little bit more lifelike. It's just a little bit sweeter, a little bit juicier, a little bit more kind of just real, in my opinion. So I cranked the drive up just a little bit to get a little bit of that kind of like tube screamer, modern metal kind of flavor going on. Other than that, everything else is left stock. Next, moving on to compressor. Another big thing with their tones, everything's just really compressed, really tight, and just, as thick as it can be. And I'm sure if you looked at like the wave recordings, it's just a block. So with this, got the intensity up pretty high, attack 1.4, squashing it quite a bit. And then we move over to the amplifier itself. Again, I cut out all the mids, a little bit of boost in treble, boost in presence, gain pretty much where it came stock. I did increase the compressor on the amp and the clarity just a little bit to get a little bit more, string attack, a little more oomph out of it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Landers. I guess I could have gone in, done some of the effects and stuff like that, using the chorus and whatnot and the delay for some of the songs. But we just wanted to give you guys kind of like the meat and potatoes kind of tones so you can go out and play, Firefly or Sun or anything like that. So let's go ahead and move on to Richard, which I have up here, RZK. So with him, again, same thing what I was talking about. A lot of gear being used. And one of the things I thought was kind of cool was the Mesa that he uses is actually a limited edition. So it was back in, I think, 92 or 94 they released it. And it was, I can't remember the model of it. I should know that. But if I remember correctly, there's only 500 of them that were made. And he has at least one. I'm sure he has backups of the same amp. He's got the money and the notoriety to track them down. But with Richard's tone, a little bit more kind of going in here. So I started off with just a dual rectifier patch. This is actually my go-to for like my personal tone. So it's Naked Zen's dual rec. And with this one, same thing, added noise gate, a little bit lower threshold because the pickup on the BC Rich, not quite as noisy. So it's only at about 4. This one, I added a green scream. So you're, just freaking... The one thing that it's called that I cannot... Tube Screamer. That's what it's called. Tube Screamer, the most synonymous pedal with guitar playing. Instead of the Klon, drive up a little bit. Tone, I pushed up just to try and get rid of some of those mids. That we're going into graphic EQ. Less kind of going on here than with Paul's tone. So I just cut a little bit at 320, a little bit more at 640, dialed back to about 9 o'clock at 1.25. Same thing with 2.5. And then I took off some of the 5K because I was getting a little bit of fizz in there. So nothing super crazy or surgical, but we'll get into, I do have a second EQ cone in here. With the compressor, again, we're going pretty intense on the attack and the intensity, a lot of squash. This one's actually squashed even more. And then as far as the settings, again, no mids, back off the bass just a little bit, treble and presence both increased. gained at about 3 o'clock. And then same thing, I boosted the compressor and the clarity just a little bit on this one to kind of dial it in. And with everything that I kind of had going in here, I was still having a hard time getting rid of all of the mids, so I decided to throw in a second studio EQ here. Or rather, I shouldn't say getting rid of the mids, just really shaping up the tone. So here, playing around with it a little bit, wasn't doing anything with the low, but steeping the low did seem to help give it just a little bit more kind of saturation. And then with that, just kind of playing around with the mid settings here. So if you guys feel like copying those, then one more noise gate. So if you guys are playing with high gain, one of the things I suggest always, whether you're playing pedal boards or you're playing Kempers or anything like that, if you have the space and if you have the money, 2 noise gates can be a great investment just for throwing, before and after any of your dirt pedals and stuff like that. Just try and clean up any kind of artifacts that pop up along the way. But yeah, other than that, everything else is pretty much self-explanatory. I went over it. So yeah, that's all the Kemper details. That's going to be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider hitting the like button, subscribe if you want to see more. I just moved. You can see a new studio, so there's going to be more videos coming up soon, not just guitar related. You'll see soon what's happening there. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one, and comment below if there's anybody you want to see me try and recreate next. Later.